Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're looking very blue on the camera today. Can you make that, just shrink all that for our intro? There we go. Oh, look, now we're not quite so, now we're just really bright. Hi guys, it's October 27th, 2019. It's Sunday. You know what that means? It's around the world in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Day where we're gonna, but Friday's show. Friday's show was awesome. It was literally one of my favorite episodes, I think, that we ever did, covering Kanye West.
So I wanted to go to this straight from that because since 2017, British police have foiled 24 terrorist plots. London's Metropolitan Police Force says it has foiled 24 terrorist plots over the past 2 years. Radical Islamic terrorism remains the most significant threat. Cressida Dick, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, said that the investigators had foiled 24 terror plots since the Islamic State, the ISIS-inspired 2017 Westminster Bridge attack carried out by the Masood, which left dozens injured and 5 dead.
Mossad?
No, that's
Masood.
Masood.
Masood, different. Okay, that's a person.
Mossad's Israel's.
I was like, wait a minute. Well, you said, okay, go ahead.
All right. 16 of the 24 plots were connected to radical Islam. The extreme right groups hatched the remaining 8. Miss Dick said that in comments reported by the Manchester Evening News. In September, Neil Basu, Britain's top anti-terror police officer, said that the foiled terror plots had risen from 19 to 22, of which 15 were Islamist-inspired. This suggests that the police have prevented 2 terror plots over the past month, one Islamist and one far right, whichever that means. Mr. Basu went on to say, despite the increases, right-wing terrorism remains a relatively small percentage of the overall demand, and that the biggest threat facing the country still comes from jihadists. Radical Islamic terrorism remains a significant problem across Europe as well. Last week, it was revealed that authorities in France had arrested a man for plotting a September 11th style hijacking, according to the La Parisien. The attack was foiled just before a Muslim man stabbed 4 people to death in an attack at the Paris police headquarters. France's Interior Minister Christopher Castaner said that the foiled September 11th style attack was the 60th terrorist plot that had been foiled by French police since 2013.
Wow.
A report earlier this year, the Black and White Book of Terrorism in Europe, found that radical Islam accounted for 91% of all European terror victims. The report found that between 2000 and 2018, a total of 753 people have been killed in terror attacks in the European Union. Most of those were in, numbers less than 10 or less than 5, so that's a lot of attacks. Mm-hmm. The United Kingdom's domestic counterintelligence agency, MI5, lists the current threat level of a terrorist attack as severe, meaning an attack is highly likely. So, this is all connected to the guy that was just taken out last night.
Abu.
Baghdadi.
So sometimes when you're reading and I'm not exactly listening all the way and the word doesn't sound right, I just say the first word that comes to mind.
I know you do. It's okay. Maybe you work on that. It's okay. It's fine. So here we have in this article the flip side of what happens when you have the terror and you have the refugees and things like that. So now you have, again, the UN flies the first EU-funded plane loads of Somalis, Syrians to Germany and Romania. The UN Migration Agency, International Organization for Migration, IOM, has hailed the arrival of its first plane load of 154 Somali migrants to Germany, along with dozens of Syrians transported to Romania using EU funds. The IMO, which promotes mass migration as inevitable, desirable, and necessary, announced the arrival of its first international charter flight of 154 Somalis from Ethiopia to Germany, with an additional 220 refugees to depart for Germany on a second IOM chartered flight in mid-November. We are happy that refugees enjoy this facilitated charter flight from departure to destination with no hassles faced. For the past 15 years, IOM Ethiopia has been involved in relocating refugees to more than 16 countries, including the USA, Canada, Australia, Norway, European Union, through resettlement, family reunification, and humanitarian mission programs. This is it's happened. Here we have the resettlement program into Germany.
So, I mean, here's the good news for these did I just say terrorists? I meant migrants. I really meant migrants. That was not even a slip of the tongue. Maybe a Freudian one.
Yeah.
Here's the good news. Like, they don't have to go through, I mean, imagine now you get probably a free flight. You don't have to have people chasing you down or telling you can't come. I mean, you're literally welcomed. Maybe you even get like a little folder, like a welcome packet with like little extra doodads and stuff, like a special bag, like when you go on a cruise and stuff.
Yeah, this is the EU financed program and asylum migration integration fund, lending credibility to the warnings of migration skeptics while like Hungarian Viktor Orban, that the EU establishment is seeking to solve the issue of illegal mass migration, not by putting an end to the mass movement of peoples into Western countries, but by regularizing it through established legal routes. The EU and the UN are serious about legalizing illegal immigration, contrary to the will of the people, he says. I think that's the key there. They want to legalize the illegal immigration of people, not realizing that Africa is a pretty darn big continent, and if you want to fix problems, why don't we fix them there? Why are you bringing people into... you want to see another map? Okay, seriously, Africa big, European Union nations not as big. You know what I'm saying? Why are you bringing... If anything, you should be taking people from Europe to Africa, but they didn't like that so well. South Africans are pretty upset about that.
Oh.
Okay, Michelle's going to bring up a world map. We're going to look at a world map here for everybody who needs some help.
They're all on like Amazon, so this is not helping me with the images here.
Okay. So my point is, you guys know that Africa is huge, and the fact that you're bringing in refugees from this giant continent into Europe literally does not make mental sense.
There we go.
Okay?
All right.
Now, come on, you guys. Come on.
Here, I got the map here. I got your map.
Okay.
I got your map here. Let's make us small. Oops.
No, it's fine. People can see it.
Okay.
Like, just take a second and look at Africa and then look at Europe. Why are we bringing people from Africa into Europe? It literally doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense. Okay, and I'm not... it just doesn't make sense.
Here's my mouse pointer. Okay, so this is Africa.
Michelle.
I want people to understand this is Africa. All right, so they can't see it because it's probably really small. So here we have Spain and France. Here's the United Kingdom. Here's Ireland. Here's Germany. So this tiny little green thing right there, Germany. All of Africa. Germany, that's where they're going. All of these people are going to come and live. They're going to live right here. All of them. Every single one of them right here. They're going to leave this continent, and then we'll all migrate there and farm. And they're all going to go right into that little spot right there.
And here is the... Okay, you bring us big, make us big in. Here's the racism of it all. You ready?
Okay.
It's okay to say that Africans need to come into Europe, but it's racism to say that Europeans could go into Africa and fix Africa, like go and live there. Mm-hmm. Like it, you know, like what they did. You know what Europeans did to South Africa? They created giant farms. It was like basically a virtual paradise, bread baskets. Right. Same thing happened in Zimbabwe. European settlers thought, well, you know what? We need some land. Africa's big. Yeah. Africa's big. To say that the white people are taking too much land in Africa, is this a joke?
They're not allowed to go there at all, though. Like, they're literally not allowed to go at all.
But everybody can come into America, no problems. And everybody can come into Europe, no problems. Europe, like small, Africa big. If you want to fix Africans' problems, you need Western ideals, and it has nothing to do with whiteness. It's Western Christian ideals, okay? And there are a lot of problems because you have a lot of witchcraft and a lot of people. There's a lot of hatred, and people don't understand.
I always kind of give kudos to the people that went to South Africa. I mean, because it's like I wouldn't want to go. I mean, just because of
it's so far away. It's so stark. It's like you're going into a wilderness, and they created. Here's the thing. What did you say? Or was it you or Mom?
If it was smart, it was me.
You were reading something.
Actually,
when it
smart,
talks about migration into the United States. You cannot compare people who left everything they had to go into a vast wilderness and create a giant sustainable, they call it industrial civilization society, industrial society,
to the illegals that are trying to come over and get free welfare and free education and free health care.
So you can't compare
the saying is, well, but America is founded on migrants and yada yada yada, and so everybody should be allowed to come in. But when our forefathers came, a lot of them they had nothing
but the shirt on their
backs, and so they had to work. Now all of these people want to come and reap from that. You know,
so the best thing to do if you're going to do anything is to send Western ideals, and that's called colonization. They don't like that.
Yeah.
Okay, isn't that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's called colonization. They don't want that anymore. So now they want this reverse colonization, and it's just messed up.
Tinkerbell says, America and Canada were built on Western Christian ideals, and that's why it thrived and was the quickest development of any country. And look what's happening when people try to remove that.
Right. Okay, so in Britain, we have another Asian gang, rape gang. Another tranche of grooming gang rapists operating in Huddersfield, West Yorkshire, have been convicted at Leeds Crown Court. It looks like a guy, 36, I don't need to read off their names, 31. Three other men from Huddersfield, aged 38, 32, 32, who cannot be named for legal reasons, were found guilty of 1 count of attempted rape, 1 count of rape, and 4 counts of rape and 1 count of rape of a girl under 13. Detective Chief Inspector Richard McNamara of Kirklees District Safeguarding Unit said the men were responsible for depraved and heinous crimes, having purposefully and repeatedly targeted and abused 3 vulnerable young girls for their own sexual gratification. The victims were between 12 to 16.
That's really
Grooming
disturbing.
gangs have targeted thousands of vulnerable girls and young women. We talked about that, and this is a huge problem. And these aren't even, hey, Neebs. Hi, Nemo.
Come here, Nemo.
Lay down, Neebs. He's having a good time running around the side. I hate to keep talking about these grooming gangs. It's almost like, oh, we're just going to wash right over this story. But let's give a moment to say, we need Tommy Robinson back.
Yeah.
He's out of jail. Honestly, I haven't heard much from him. I don't know what's going on with Tommy right now.
Well, he had another court hearing, a couple of weeks ago or something?
That was with the soccer.
Yeah.
With the football.
I don't know whatever happened to that.
So I don't either. If you guys have any updates on Tommy, let me know. But Tommy used to be our go-to guy to tell us what was going on.
Right.
To make a big deal out of it and a big stink out of it, like it should be. Another set of guys found guilty, and guess what, guys? You see that little article? And Tommy would go in and figure out what they did and tell us the specifics.
Sure.
Because when you just say heinous crimes, they did bad things. It doesn't get under your skin. Okay. Well, hey, how about the guys who turned girls into kebabs and cooked them and fed them to people? How about the guys who went and burned down a girl's house and her parents' house? How about the mutilating of these girls and just the ISIS style things that these guys did, from Afghanistan? Oh my goodness! Well, they weren't even ISIS, but they acted like it, right? And doing that, the UK is so afraid that you will look at everybody who's of Middle Eastern descent or look Asian, and you'll see them as a rape gang, person.
Right. So Jack Russell says a white South African woman phoned into Nigel's show this morning. The black Africans think this is the land of milk and honey where everything is free. And they're actually not wrong about that. I mean, that's why, when I feed my bees, which I do, when it's necessary, sugar water, and I put certain essential oils that are in there and it's really strong, when I use like a diffuser in the house and the door is open and they smell the essential oils, they kind of like want to come. And so I have trained my bees to come to the scent because they know that food is going to be there. And it's like, if you don't want them to continue to come, then you stop putting out the food.
Right. Yeah. And so this is a big, a huge story that you guys, a lot of you worth a look, and Barry sent me links to. Speaking of people wanting to come, 39 people were found dead inside a lorry, which is a truck, in a people smuggling, a huge, horrible thing gone.
Fleeting seconds after 1 o'clock in the morning. Caught for a few fleeting seconds after 1 o'clock in the morning. This was the distinctive red and white lorry as it passed through an industrial estate in Thurrock, Essex. A few hundred metres later, the driver turned left into Eastern Avenue and parked up. Less than half an hour later, an ambulance was called after the grim discovery of 39 bodies in the lorry's trailer, including one teenager. Today, forensic officers were continuing their examination of the scene. The 25-year-old driver has been arrested on suspicion of murder.
This is an absolute tragedy and very sad day for Essex Police and the local community. We will continue to work alongside many other partner agencies to find out what led to these deaths.
For most of the day, the street on which the lorry was parked was sealed off. Red Cross vehicles were seen entering the cordon as detectives and forensic experts continued a meticulous examination of the scene in an effort to find clues. For a few seconds, the inside of the trailer could be glimpsed, the full horror of its contents shielded from view. The identities of the poor souls inside is unknown at the moment, but the news was still upsetting enough to prompt local people to pay tribute to those who died in the most horrendous of circumstances.
I came to lay flowers today because I feel deeply taken aback and shocked by what's happened here today, and I feel like these people deserve dignity and respect.
It's understood the lorry driver is Mo Robinson from Portadown in County Armagh. It's believed the cab was driven through Holyhead in North Wales on Saturday and the container was collected at Purfleet early this morning. Today the Prime Minister updated the House of Commons on the investigation.
This is an unimaginable tragedy and truly heartbreaking. I know that the thoughts and prayers of all members are with those who lost their lives and their loved ones. I'm receiving regular updates, and the Home Office will work closely with Essex Police as we establish exactly what has happened.
The lorry and the trailer, which still contains the 39 bodies, is now being moved to a secure location at Tilbury Docks, where the grim task of identifying the victims will begin. The focus will now be on tracing the route of the container and pinning down precisely where and how the people managed to get inside on a journey that ended in such tragedy.
So they were in the lorry, the big truck, and we call them semis here in the States. And do you think they ran out of air? Do you think it got too hot?
Yeah.
Were they all dead? Was there anyone left alive? Obviously, if there was anyone left alive, they would tell you, right?
UK police in Essex say all of the 39 victims found dead in the truck contained in southeastern England are now out of the truck and in a mortuary awaiting autopsies. But Detective Chief Inspector Martin Passmore says the victims have not been identified and very few documents were found with the bodies. He met Saturday with the Vietnamese. Supposedly they were Vietnamese, by the way.
Okay.
Ambassador amid reports on social media that many of the victims were from the South Asian country. Passmore again appealed to those who might have information on the victims to help with the inquiries. 4 people have been arrested so far in the case, one of Britain's deadliest smuggling disasters. Vietnamese families are mourning lost children, desperately seeking information about the 39 who died in the back of a sealed truck in southeastern England this week, even as British officials struggle to identify victims whose identities were obscured by the people smugglers who led them to their deaths. Police in Britain are questioning 4 people in connection with the tragedy as they grapple with one of the deadliest cases of trafficking ever reported in the country. In an effort to treat the victims with respect and preserve evidence, authorities are slowly transferring the bodies from the truck to a hospital mortuary where the process of identification will take place. But the task is likely to be difficult. People smugglers normally take the passports of their passengers to obscure their identities, stripping them of their names and giving them new documents when they arrive at their destinations. Police initially believed the victims were Chinese, but later acknowledged that the details were still evolving. Attention shifted to Vietnam after the family of a 26-year-old Vietnamese woman released text messages suggesting she had suffocated in the truck.
Suffocated, so yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
Of my clients end up in debts from loan sharks or snakeheads in China. They accrue vast amounts of debts, and then the snakeheads will exploit that because they're not going to be able to pay that debt back. They then tell them that there's an offer of a job abroad. They don't always know that it's going to be the UK. The snakehead will sort out the visa for them, and they'll end up in the UK. Majority of the time, yes, these women agree to go to another country, but that's because they're from rural, poor villages. You know, they don't know any different. They're offered vast amounts of money. They take the offer up. They then can't pay it back. They arrive in the UK, and that's where they become victims of trafficking because they're sexually exploited. They're working in massage parlours, brothels, restaurants, most of the time not paid. They're locked up for months or years on end before any help is sort of found.
What kind of lies are they told, though, like to get them, you know, and it's so sad to imagine somebody...
You do hear about the lies happening a lot in Asian countries, and you look at a lot of these, there's these Asian women, there's these weird massage parlors, sex trafficking, and this appears to be a female trafficking unit of 39 women being killed and suffocated to death. Not your average.
Well, and it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, okay, I'm sure 39 of these female souls are very valuable, monetarily speaking. And so I think it goes to show that, again, to use the word depravity, the depravity of these traffickers, where you would just think like you would want to preserve what you're trying to.
And why can't the UK police trace them back if there are massage parlors? Why can't they stop it? Why can't they bring it down? Like, and I say that for American officials too. Like, you've got to be able to like.
Well, we're actually doing it under Trump. It's happening.
Here's the thing: they will arrest you for misgendering somebody.
Right.
Right now, there's a guy who is suing a guy because he is a transgender, and once the guy found out he was a man, he didn't want to have sex with him, so now the UK police are investigating it as a hate crime.
You're kidding.
No, and they're wasting that time to investigate that.
It doesn't even seem real.
So that's why they don't have time to investigate
sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking.
Wow,
yeah. Speaking of girls being hurt, thousands of girls are subjected to female genital mutilation in Ireland. An estimated 6,000 women and girls in Ireland have their genitals mutilated. Experts warn that another 3,000 girls are currently at risk of being subjected to FGM. At a conference in Dublin, activists gathered to decry the practice of FGM and called for a national plan of action. The journal reports that Senator Ivanka Bajek, who helped craft Ireland's anti-FGM legislation, said that the practices should be treated as a serious form of child abuse. FGM, we talked about, I don't really need to go into that right now because it's just, I know it's disturbing. It can not only lead to long-term psychological and mental damage, but in some cases it's death. And a lot of these are Somalian people, and you're bringing them in, and what are you doing? Are you going to just dump the Somalis in a vat of re-education to teach them? Because you're bringing in people and they're committing these human rights violations and child abuse, and it's a disturbing trend. Instances of female genital mutilation have been recorded in 30 countries. Earlier this year in the United Kingdom, a woman from Uganda became the first person to be convicted of FGM. She was sentenced to an 11-year term for allowing the cutting of her 3-year-old daughter, leaving her with permanent physical and likely psychological damage. One of the main issues in writing the Ireland of FGM is that the mothers are often pressured by relatives to return to their country of origin to have their daughters mutilated. What we are hearing now from women is that they believe FGM is a harmful practice, and they wouldn't want it to happen to their children, but there's still a lot of pressure. They're being pressurized from where they're coming from, being told they shouldn't wait too long to have this done to their daughters. Wow. So this is what happens when you bring in a cross-cultural craziness. Speaking of craziness, Oxford University is supposed to be the bastion of thought, free thinking, where great ideas have emerged. Oxford University bans clapping to keep people from being triggered. Student union representatives at the Oxford University passed a motion this week to ban clapping and replace it with silent jazz hands instead of applause, which could trigger anxiety. The motion to mandate and the encouragement of silent clapping proposed using the more inclusive British Sign Language symbol for clapping, known as the silent jazz hands, waving both hands by the sides of the body at about shoulder height in place of audible applause. The clapping ban would affect student union meetings and events where traditional clapping and cheering presents an access issue to those with anxiety disorders. Officers at the student union contended that traditional applause, whooping, foot stomping, and other loud noises presenting an access issue for some disabled students who have anxiety disorder, sensory sensitivity, and those who use hearing aids. Sabbatical Officer Rosen McCallum says the change is specifically aimed at making events more inclusive and accessible to all. The policy was proposed in order to encourage the use of British Sign Language clapping during our democratic events and to make those events more accessible and inclusive for all. One former student told the Daily Mail that despite Oxford's good intentions and desire to be accommodating for students with accessibility issues, the idea will not work and is completely ludicrous. The move away from clapping at Oxford follows a similar motion passed at the University of Manchester in September of last year.
Look what Boss Torres says. That's horrible. How will blind people know what's going on?
That's really funny. Oh my gosh.
I could not agree more, actually.
That is really
I mean, what
funny.
would be, why do we have to create these bans, right? So even if they have a point, because I do have a sensitive ear, like when we went to the Trump rally, it really was painful. I should have brought hearing protection. I didn't. It was so loud. It was really, really painful.
Yeah.
But I get that there are people that have legitimate problems, okay? Like, especially when they mentioned the hearing aid thing. And the anxiety thing, it's kind of like, I don't know, that's just, people with anxiety have anxiety wherever they go.
Right.
But what would be so wrong with just telling people to be considerate and having like a quiet clap and don't get like out of control? Instead of a ban, just tell people to try to be considerate. Like, I mean, I don't understand why that is so difficult.
I don't know.
Just to be like, hey, just be considerate. There's some people that have hearing aids. If you want to quietly clap or give an amen. Amen.
I say, you know what? Unfortunately, we can't live all of our lives with, suddenly don't eat. Somebody's afraid of, somebody's allergic to.
Well, okay, so yeah, like I'm never going to eat peanuts in public because there are so many people that have peanut allergies. And if they see me eating a peanut, they could blow up and I could be responsible.
Yeah. 50th straight week of protest.
Thank you for being here and being such an amazing, amazing encouragement and Resistance Chicks family. We absolutely love you guys. So we love you. God bless you. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth.
Is he dead?
Oh, so many people are like, oh, it's fake news.
I don't know.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, not everything in this... I said that to a girl that was questioning Kanye. I was like, not everything in this world is a conspiracy, man. Like,
I know
it's our slogan, but like...
If everything's a conspiracy, then nothing is.
Exactly.
That's why we try to bring out the anomalies.
Right. Yeah. There are sometimes that good things happen. And President Trump does do something in his administration. Like, you do realize that, like, they do kill bad guys in real life. Like, this happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fake just
they
because
don't
it's
always
good.
kill the good guys. All right, we gotta go.
All right, God bless.
I was cold.